Friends in Christ, Pastor Brian here. Now we're in the second week of our study of Paul's letter to the Colossians. Last week we focused on the background of that area of the world, getting ourselves familiar with the letter and with Paul and where he was in his ministry. And this week we focus on chapter 1 of Paul's letter to the Colossians. Now in preparing for this week ahead, I have been doing some reading out of N.T. Wright's book, which has been very helpful, and I have found some new insights from what he has written. Now, mostly, they've helped me to see anew the faith that I've had since childhood, that I've been privileged to teach and foster in others through my vocation in the church. This first chapter of the letter describes Paul's joy at the news he is hearing of the Colossians' faithful response to the gospel, and his own description of the fullness of his understanding of who Jesus Christ is. Now those, along with Wright's questions around the text, inspired me to see things anew. Wright describes Paul's understanding that thanksgiving is a sign of a mature and healthy faith. That gratitude for what God has done through Jesus and how God continues to work in the world and our lives, that is a sign that we know and love God. And it made me wonder how much I give thanks to God. See, I realized how much I complain to God, or I bring people and events to God in prayer for healing and wholeness, and those are good things. But they skip another important part of prayer, which is giving thanks to God for what God has done. And that thanksgiving both reorients us to the wonderful things God is doing in the world and trains us to see that reality in our lives. A beauty worth giving thanks for, that we often let be overshadowed by everything else. Wright then goes on to talk about this hymn in praise of Jesus in Paul's letter. And that while it does have some theological implications in its content, Wright argues it's intended to simply describe the Jesus who is what Christianity is about. Wright takes seriously these ideas of Jesus as the image of God, the firstborn of creation, through whom all things were created. And then he asks the question, what are the implications of this description of Jesus as the central connection we have to God? What is the implication of that description for our home and family life, for our public and work life, for our life in the church? It's hard to describe, but with the lens of Wright, I was able to see the text of Paul's letter in a way that touched me, not just intellectually, but in my heart, and in a way that I haven't thought or experienced in a long time. As we continue this study, I'd encourage you to make use of the resources on our website, stjohnneely.org, which include links to some helpful videos and some questions and activities to ponder and enliven your own experience, or to join our Facebook group and enter into a conversation with others as we spend this Lent journeying together through Paul's letter to the Colossians. God's blessings.